We got Mr. Ballin. It's Mr. Ballin Sunday. Hope y'all Sunday going wonderful. He just came out this like a couple minutes ago. I'm just not getting back home. Had a what's your name? But let's go ahead and get the video started. Make sure y'all comment. I might do a video. No man, I'm gonna hush. Let's go ahead and get the video started, man. Giveaway at 5,500. Let's get into it.
On an April morning in 1993, a surfer named John Doyle was sitting on a surfboard out in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of West Africa, just scanning the water waiting for a wave. John was totally alone out here. There were no other surfers, nothing, and the only sign of human civilization anywhere was John's Land Rover, which was parked up on the sand on the beach. John was an American. He was from Colorado.
I had one of them.
And so his experience had always been, lots of snow and mountains and trees, because that's Colorado. But now here, off the coast of Africa, it was like a totally different planet. And in fact, today, John was really feeling that because the sun was so hot that day. It was over 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and you could actually feel his back starting to burn as he sat there, waiting for the next wave. And so he told himself, actually, that he would just catch one more wave and then call it a day to avoid a sunburn. But as John continued to kind of scan out across the water waiting for this wave, he noticed about 20 meters away was a shark fin swimming in a circle, like stereotypical, terrifying shark behavior. And so John is horrified, and he wants to get out of the water immediately, but he's far enough away from shore that if he jumped into the water to swim to shore, he's going to be in the water with the shark thrashing around. He's just going to attract the shark over to him. Yeah. And so John decides his only hope here to escape the shark is actually just to surf it. That way he'll stay out of the water. It's much faster. He'll get to shore. The shark can't follow him there. It'll be fine. And so, trying to stay calm, John continued to keep his eye on the shark that was still
he knows sharks,
and he also really looked closely for any...
I know he knows sharks in that water. In the way he just surfing. I know surfers, bro, they do what they love. They know the weather, how it's gonna be before they go out there, and they know about the animals and shit that's in the water. And you never know what's in the water.
Swell coming towards him that might be big enough to allow him to surf to shore. And thankfully, after only a couple of minutes, John did see a swell coming towards him that seemed like it would be perfect for a final wave. And so at this point, John is facing out to sea towards the swell, towards the shark that's still 20 meters away, and he...
Give this motherfucking video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. 5 seconds. Like the video, nigga. Damn, Sharon, I gotta tell you, grown motherfuckers to like the video.
Turns himself around,
like the,
so he's
look at the whole video,
and then he
just get off the video,
and he begins to paddle towards shore. And as he's doing this, he's checking the swell to see when it's going to come up.
Comment or something.
And eventually, the swell is right underneath him. And as he's about to stand up on his board and actually surf into shore, he looks into the water that is not quite formed into a wave yet, and he sees the shark. It's literally underneath him. And so John has this sudden surge of adrenaline, and he just jumps up onto his board. He stands up, and for a second, he's stable. He's surfing, and he's riding this wave away from the shark. He's doing exactly what he hoped he could do. He can't believe it. And then, because he was panicked, because he was rushing, because it was a new board, who knows why, the nose of his board suddenly dipped just long enough to throw John off his board and into the water with the shark.
I was just enjoying myself the other day like I always do. And then these zombies popped out of nowhere. But luckily...
So immediately, as this wave...
What the fuck was that ad? Man, I'm gonna start pointing ad. I ain't no way they just did this.
Churning John over, he grabs onto his surfboard and just kind of holds on, and he's waiting for a moment when the wave stops so he can get out of the water, back on his board, and away from the shark. But before the wave even stopped tumbling him over, John suddenly felt the searing pain in his calf. And so John, who's underwater, still clutching his board, he opens his eyes underwater, then he looks down, and through the cloudy water, he can see very clearly it is the shark, and it's a great white shark that is latched onto his leg. And so now, in a total panic, John began punching the nose of the shark. And when he did, the shark actually recoiled and released his leg long enough that John could pull it out. He actually managed to get up onto his board again. And just a second later, almost out of instinct, he was back standing on his board, just surfing along with a leg that was now bleeding profusely into the water. And for a second, John was stable and appeared to be kind of moving towards shore again. But then the shark, it doubled around and swam at John from the side and literally smashed into him, knocking him off the board back into the water. But this time, John managed, when he fell the second time, to actually grab on to the board with both hands. So he has two hands on the board. He's getting tumbled in the water again, but he knows the shark is going to come for him. And so at the last second, he pulled the board close to his body and kind of turned himself like it was a shield. And the shark came flying towards him and bit him. But because he used that surfboard as a shield, the shark just bit the surfboard, ripped off half of it, and swam off with it and began mauling this half of the surfboard. And John, with the other half of the surfboard, he somehow managed to stand up on it. Again, his leg is bleeding everywhere, and he rode this damaged half surfboard into shore successfully away from the shark.
God damn, boy. Good thing my boy made it from that damn shark, though. I don't see how I can survive some goddamn water. I wouldn't even do that.
And so when John pulled himself up onto the sand, out of the water, he looked back and he saw the shark swimming off. And even though he's in excruciating pain from this attack, he was so relieved. He couldn't believe he actually just survived that. But John did not have time to think about, what good fortune this was in a way, because he was an hour away from the nearest civilization. And between where he was now and that town, there was nothing. There weren't homes, there weren't buildings, there weren't offices, nothing. It was just totally wildlands until you got to that town.
Well, he know he got himself in that damn predicament any goddamn way. Fuck you going? I hate people like that.
And so John knew he would need to get in his car and drive all the way to that town and then get the people of the town to go get medical help. So, he is hours away from getting the help he needs. And so he has no time to waste. And so he crawls through the sand. His leg is killing him, but he's just so focused on getting up to his Land Rover. And he manages to get to his car. He opens the door, he climbs in the driver's seat. And then as soon as he's in there, he shuts and locks the doors. And then he grabs a white T-shirt that he had on the passenger seat and he ripped it into strips. And he used those strips like tourniquets, and he wrapped them around his leg, the leg that was bleeding from his calf. And he basically used this tourniquet to attempt to cut off blood flow to his entire right leg to stop the bleeding, to save his life. But the wound on his right leg was so bad and so deep that despite putting on multiple very tight tourniquets, it just wasn't doing very much. He was still losing blood at a pace that likely would kill him before he got to town. And so John was kind of like, well, nothing else I can do but attempt to go to town. So he fired up his car, he reversed off the beach, and began making his way towards town. As John sped along the road, he began to feel very lightheaded. Between the pain in his leg and the extreme heat outside, he just felt very dehydrated and weak. And so he thought to himself, if I can't get a sip of water soon, I'm going to pass out right now, and then I'm done for. And so as he's driving along, John began fumbling around his car, looking for any sort of liquid somewhere in the car. But ultimately, all he found was an empty water bottle. And all he saw in every direction was just this barren African savanna with no people and no water anywhere. And so
he knew it wasn't going to be nobody that way. He didn't bring no water, no food. Most of all, he didn't bring no extra water. And you was gonna be this far away from civilization. It's crazy. That's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. He kind of brought that on himself. I ain't gonna even lie to you.
John just kept on driving, hoping eventually
he might no water, no supplies, bro.
And luckily, after only a couple of minutes, when his eyelids were really starting to droop and he was having a hard time focusing, he noticed up ahead there was a copse of trees with a little creek that ran through it. And so immediately John pulled over and he got out and he hobbled his way over to the water. He laid down on his stomach, so his face is basically right over the water. And then he just put his face in the water and began to drink. And as he did, he felt his heart rate start to slow down. He felt himself relax a little bit. He started to think to himself, like, hey, I found water, I'm doing okay.
Now you gotta go.
Maybe I will survive this. But right as John was starting to feel optimistic, he felt a new shooting pain on his right side. And so with a little bit of strength he had, he managed to turn his head and looked to see what was going on. And staring back at him was a lion who had just bit his side and was now growling and staring at John and beginning to move its jaw left and right to really sink its teeth into John.
A lion?
Okay, so if you're not listening to our show,
fuck the dumb shit.
then you sound design.
Make sure y'all go show love to the podcast.
TikTok says I have 3 seconds to keep your
Carl, ain't no way.
Time it takes to wash dishes.
My guy,
unbelievable.
My guy survived a shark attack in the water. Then he try to go get help. After that, he get help. I mean, not get help, but he stopped to get some water because he's thirsty. He stopped to get water. He get bitten on the side by a lion. A lion. A lion? My guy? Oh, GG's. Oh my God, bro. First a great right short, now lion. It's crazy. I mean
pain in his leg from a shark attack. And so John's experiencing pain that very few people ever get to experience. And it caused this unbelievable surge of adrenaline. One that you would likely get basically right before you die. That was the level of adrenaline he was getting. And with this adrenaline rush, he grabbed a stick and he began hitting this lion who's locked onto his ribs. And he managed to beat the lion off of him.
Right.
And the lion, it only backed up maybe a few feet. It's still totally fixated on John. And it's growling and edging towards him. But John,
the Lion King,
just attempt to get to his Land Rover. And so as soon as the lion had let go of him, he just stood up and kind of pathetically began hobbling as fast as he could towards his Land Rover.
Oh my God.
And he literally just walked past this lion who was still growling at him, kind of trying to size him up. And he just kept on walking towards his car, and he was almost there when he noticed the sound of the lion growling behind him, which had been constant to this point, had suddenly intensified to the point where John couldn't even help himself. He had to turn around and see what was going on. And when he turned around...
First of all, why did you turn your back on a lion? Everybody knows it's common sense, bro. This dude don't got no common sense. I'm sorry to say it. If he die, he just die. But he don't got no common sense. Why would you turn your back on an animal that's just and you bleed? Why would you turn your back on an animal, especially a lion? They are predators, not prey. You never turn your back on something like that. That's just common sense. And you out there, I know they teach that shit in school.
He saw now there was not just one lion, but an entire pride.
Oh my God,
Jesus! At least 4 lions that now had all formed a semicircle.
Oh my
God! Staring at John and moving.
Hey, GG's. Hey, GG's, bro. This nigga just a lion pack is fucking crazy. Hey, a great white shark and a lion pack, bro. Just kill me. Just fuck it. Let's kill
to
me.
eat him. But John really couldn't do anything about this. All he could do was just hopefully get to his Land Rover in time.
You need to get to that Land Rover.
So John just turned back around, so his back is to the pride of lions a few feet away from him, and he just continues hobbling towards his car. And as he walked, the lions began swiping at him and cutting his legs open and his arms open.
Hell no.
I mean, they're like razor blades just being taken to the backside of him, but they didn't launch a full-bore attack on him. It was like they were just kind of testing him. And then right when the lions were basically about to actually pull John to the ground and eat him was when John got to the door, opened it up, jumped inside, shut it, and locked it. However, when John went to grab his keys and start the car, he realized he didn't have the keys. And when he turned and looked outside, he saw the pride of lions and his car keys on the ground.
Oh, man.
He knew there was no
Is it a movie about this? This shit crazy.
Without getting killed in the process. And so John basically just resigned himself to die in his car right here. Like he knew, I'm going to die in the next few hours. There's nothing I can do. And so he just kind of sat there and waited.
Don't give
30
up,
minutes
man.
later, John heard a very loud, almost explosion sound coming from somewhere outside of the vehicle. And then he heard it a few more times, and before long, the lions were so startled by it that they ran away. And then he hears what sounds like a series of shutter flashes, like camera flashes. He's looking around. He can't quite figure out what's even going on because, again, he has all these injuries. He's lost so much blood. And then eventually, John just kind of passes out, having no idea what had just happened. It would turn out there was actually a safari that was happening in the area where John was at the same time.
That nigga
and the safari guide, as they drove past this area, happened to spot John inside of his Land Rover, surrounded by lions. And so as all the people in the tour began furiously taking photos of this crazy scene in front of them, the tour guide began firing his rifle into the sky to scare the lions off. And so those were the noises that John was hearing before he passed out. And then after he passed out, the tour guide and all the people on the tour pulled John out of his Land Rover because now the lions are gone, and they would take him to a hospital where doctors and nurses would have to give him 250 stitches to stitch up all of his various shark and lion wounds. John would make a full recovery, and he would hang up on his wall in his office the broken half of that surfboard that he did successfully manage to ride in to escape the shark. He says the surfboard reminds him how lucky he was.
You're definitely lucky, my guy. I'll give you that.
Teller Rodney Barnes. Enjoy.
To be out there with no supplies by yourself is crazy. One, you didn't have a phone. By the way, you didn't have a phone. You didn't have supplies, no food. You didn't have no water, no extra water, no bottles of water, no nothing. Didn't have nothing, brother, and nothing to defend yourself with. And you know that animals be out there. It's kind of crazy if you ask me. It's kind of, you got attacked by a great white shark and then a pack of lions. Well, one lion at first, and then he went and got his pack, his family. That's make it more crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you. Just stay in the house, my guy. Please stay in the house. This story was crazy. Crazy than a motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie. He lucky that safari and that them tourists, them tourists had came in. You feel me? He would have been dead meat. I ain't gonna lie. But that being said, give your thumbs up. I know. I decided every 2 Sundays I'm gonna do 2 videos on Mr. Ballen Sunday. So not this week, probably next week I'm gonna do 2 Mr. Ballen videos. One gonna be that night, well, gonna be that midnight, probably 2 Sunday, and the other one gonna be around this time when this one come out. So that being said, give your thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. See you when I see y'all. Make sure y'all comment, and that's right, nigga.